Yes, people, I hope you are doing wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Today, we are going to complete the chapter of raising finance from capital markets for CMA Final Corporate and Economic Laws. Okay, all right, people. In the last section, we discussed the eligibility conditions for a company to go into IPO in great detail. Okay, before we move to the next concept, we will draw the mind map for that eligibility conditions for a company to go into IPO. Then we will move to the next concept. Okay. After we draw the mind map, people, we are going to discuss the concept of types of pricing, offer document, face value, and issue price, which are very, very small topics. Next, we will proceed with promoters' contribution. Little difficult, but still, I will call it as easy topic. And then the last topic is shares allocation, and then people we are done with the chapter of raising finance from capital markets. All right, shall we get started, people? All right. I hope you are saying yes, people, because I cannot hear what you are saying. I'm assuming you are saying yes. Okay. Yes. Shall we get started, people? Shall we get started? All right. We will first begin with the mind map for eligibility conditions for a company to go into IPO. Mind maps will include those four conditions, basic conditions, and then what if a company does not follow those four conditions? Another condition. Okay, will include that, and then five conditions over that will include in the mind map. Then we are done with the main topic of this chapter, that is raising finance from capital markets. The main topic was, people, eligibility conditions for a company to go into IPO. Once we are done with that, remaining all the topics are very, very easy. All right, so take walk. Okay, people, let's begin. Conditions for a company to go for IPO, which means, am I eligible for an IPO? Simple question. Am I eligible for an IPO? If yes, what are the conditions that needs to be followed? First condition is, people, so we will segregate this into two parts. Number one is primary conditions, secondary conditions. Secondary conditions does not mean that you are not supposed to follow. It is also required to be followed, but they are little simpler to understand. Secondary conditions. Okay, all right. Primary condition में it will have four conditions. Number one is क्या हो रहा है bro? Number one is net tangible asset should be more than or equal to 3 CR in preceding 3 financial years. Net tangible assets should be minimum 3 crores in the preceding 3 financial years. उसमें से if less than 50% is in monetary form, the company can go for an IPO very, very easily. If more than 50%, the company can still go for an IPO provided it submits a detailed report to SEBI regarding how it is going to utilize the money. Report to SEBI how it's going to utilize money. All right. Now, this 50% criteria will not be applicable when new shares are not issued, but the existing shareholders are selling their shares in the IPO. I've given you one example, people. Mukesh Ambani, his son, and another shareholder is there, Mukesh Ambani and son. Mukesh Ambani wants his shares to go public. This shareholder, his name was Bill Gates. Bill Gates wants to sell his shares now. Public wants to buy the shares. It's a win-win-win situation, correct? Bill Gates ने shares public को बेचे, public ने पैसे Bill Gates को दिए. Win-win situation. Mukesh Ambani का भी win-win situation हो गया because the shares got listed to the public. Did Mukesh Ambani got any money? No. Bill Gates got the money. Okay. Bill Gates got the money. Public got the shares. Mukesh Ambani को कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ. अगर Mukesh Ambani को कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ, then this condition will not be applicable. Not applicable when not applicable when shares are issued on offer for sale. Okay. The next condition is, people, next condition is pre-tax operating profit should be at least 15 crores. Pre-tax operating average profit should be minimum 15 crores in the last 3 out of 5 preceding financial years. Pre-tax operating profit should be more than or equal to 15 CR in preceding 3 out of 5 financial years. Okay. Pre-tax operating profit should be calculated on restated and consolidated basis. Restated means removing all the valuation error and omitting error. Any error should be removed and then that value should be finalized while calculating pre-tax operating profit. Consolidation means subsidiary ka bhi income should be included into the holding company. If the subsidiary company is paying dividend to the holding company, then holding company should not consider it as an income because it's an expense of the subsidiary company. So this should be done on restated plus consolidated basis. Perfect. All right. The third condition is, people, the third condition is net worth should be more than or equal to 1 CR in each preceding 3 financial years. यहाँ तक clear है people? And the last condition is name change. Last 12 months, then revenue more than 50% should be from the new name, and obviously less than 50% should be from the old name. Perfect. 4 conditions: net tangible assets, pre-tax operating profit, net worth, name change. Clear hai? All right. Now these conditions will not be applicable when 75% of issue is subscribed by QIB, plus it should be through book building process. Price should equal to book building process. Not applicable. Perfect people, perfect. Now let's come to the secondary conditions. Secondary conditions में number 1 will be, people, you need to draw the mind map as if you are drawing it horizontally. I have drawn it vertically people. आपको horizontal पे mind map draw करना है. Alright, so that you will get a lot of space to draw the mind map. Yes. The first condition is, first condition क्या था people? Company can list convertible debt securities without listing equity shares. Yeah. Next condition is minimum number of allottees should be more than 1000. Number 3, outstanding convertible securities. Over here was convertible debt securities. Right now I'm talking about convertible securities. No outstanding convertible securities. Another is monitoring issue proceeds, which says if more than 100 crores the company issued, if the company got money from an IPO, then it should appoint bank or public financial institution who will report quarterly basis to SEBI until and unless 95% until 95% of issue proceeds are utilized. The last is people, that is not a mandatory condition but provisional, or we can say suggestive condition. IPO grading. For confidence of investors. All right, people, I will highlight this because this is not a mandatory condition. Perfect, people. Everything I have included in this mind map. Before going for exam, you just have to go to the mind map and you are sorted. Perfect. You can take a screenshot, people. Screenshot dena to le lo. We'll just turn the orientation. Screenshot dena hai to le lo. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. All right, people. Till here we studied. Next concept we are going to study is pricing of shares in public issue. Public issue mein when a Zomato is going for a IPO, shares का pricing किस तरीके से होगा? What are the types of pricing of equity shares when a company goes into IPO? The first type of pricing is people. First type of pricing is, what is the first type of pricing? First type of pricing is, obviously it is called as fixed price. Fixed price means Zomato, after consultation with the chartered accountant, financial advisors, valuers, after taking consultation with all the experts, what he will do is he will fix a final price of the share when he will go for an IPO. For example, 100 shares, 100 rupees का value आता है, then he will tell the public that you can purchase Zomato shares rupees at the price of rupees 100. That's it. No negotiation, no bargaining. 100 rupees is 100 rupees. The next is people, the next is क्या था next, क्या था? Yeah, book building. इसको बोलते हैं people price range or price band. Over here the company says that the shares can be offered at a price between 100 rupees to 500 rupees because in my opinion I cannot fix a final price to the shares. So you take your call, you tell me 100 to 500 बीच में तुम्हें जो प्राइस लगे तुम वो प्राइस में अप्लाई करना. I will make sure that all my shares are sold but at the highest price. Okay, my goal is to sell all the shares at the highest price. I have explained the book building process in lecture number 2. All right, you can watch that lecture number 2 people to find out the process of book building. Book building में lower range and upper range दिया जाता है. Investors पूछते हैं कि bro tell me your price. If the investor says 90 rupees, 80 rupees, 60 rupees, 50 rupees, 40 rupees, I will ensure that my shares are sold at the highest price, not necessarily 90 rupees. 90 rupees दूंगा तो maybe 5,000 shares might be sold. I want to sell 1,000 shares, so I will ensure that I will fix a price in between in between the upper range and low range. Ensure that all my shares are sold at the highest price. Okay, यहाँ पे upper limit plus lower limit दिया जाता है. कहां दिया जाता है? In the offer document. What is offer document people? Offer document is a detailed explanation about what is about the company, its detail. Okay, sorry. Detailed explanation about the company, its business, why is it raising money, for what purpose it is raising money, kitna paisa raise kar raha hai, every single thing. Who are the merchant bankers, who are the syndicate banks, who are the banker to the issue, who are the underwriters, who are the registrar to the issue, सारे middlemen, सारे company officers, greatest details, promoter details, every single thing about the company and the IPO is given in the offer document. Okay. Now, one more type of pricing is there, that is called as floor price. Floor price means there is no upper limit, only lower limit is given, people. Lower limit. If the lower limit is rupees 100 rupees, investors can put 10,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees, 100 rupees, 200 rupees, depending on the value it sees in the company. Because I don't know the value of my company. I know that 100 rupees से नीचे तो मेरा शेयर का प्राइस नहीं आएगा. You know that thing, okay? So I don't know what everybody sees in my company after 5-10 years down the line. Even I don't know, because my company is so, what do we say, the company is so lucrative that anything can happen. The company can grow by 10x, 20x, 50x, 100x. So it depends on the investors. Investors कितना पैसा दे सकता है. Okay, there is no upper limit over here, only a lower limit. When such type of pricing is mentioned in the offer document, that offer document is called as red herring prospectus. This type of offer document where price is not mentioned at all, only lower limit is mentioned, is called as red herring prospectus. Otherwise, it is called as simply offer document. Clear yahan tak, people? All right. You can take a screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Now, let's read it. How price is set? Fixed price. The company sets a fixed price, 75 rupees per share. Simple to understand. Self-explanatory. Next is book building. A price range is given and the final price is set based on demand. Book building is a process where the issuer offers shares within a price band where the price is determined based on demand from investors. This method involves investors bidding for shares within the given price range, and the final price is set based on the highest price at which all my shares can be sold. This helps gauge the market's demand and for the shares before pricing is done. Simple. You can watch lecture number 2 if you want to understand book building process in detail. All right. Next is debt instruments में price क्या होता है? We will, people, I have had some mistakes in the numbering and all. यहाँ पे आएगा 2. Okay. Yeah. Debt instruments for convertible debentures, the coupon rate means interest rate, and conversion price means if debt instruments I am listing in the IPO, that is convertible debt instruments. I have told you, convertible debentures, convertible bonds, which can be later converted into equity shares after 2 to 3 years. All right. Ashwini Global example दिया था, याद है? I'm assuming आप बोल रहे हो याद है मुझे, people. I'm not able to hear it, but I'm assuming you are saying okay. Perfect. Now we will see conversion price means price to which debt is converted into shares are set with the lead merchant banker. Perfect. Lead merchant banker will decide the conversion price at which debt can be converted into equity shares after a fixed period of time, and at the same time, till it is a debt, till it is a loan, till it is not converted, the company is required to pay interest for that loan that it has borrowed from the investor. All right. अश्विनी ग्रोवर से BNG ज्वेलर्स ने अगर लोन लिया है तो BNG ज्वेलर्स को अश्विनी ग्रोवर को इंटरेस्ट टाइमली देना होगा. तो इंटरेस्ट किस रेट में होगा ये भी मर्चेंट बैंकर डिसाइड करेगा. Coupon rate. This is the interest rate that the issuer will pay to the bondholder annually. It is usually fixed based on market conditions and the credit rating of the issuer. Credit rating, I've told you, it is an organization that has got tremendous amount of data about your financial activities. It can clearly say that whether you will be able to repay the loan or not. Okay. Conversion price, if the bond is convertible, the conversion price is the price at which bondholder can convert the bond into shares once the bond reaches its maturity. Example, Zomato may decide to issue convertible debenture with a coupon rate of 7% per annum. Coupon rate means interest at the rate of 7% per annum, meaning the bondholders will earn 7% interest on their investment. The conversion price of these bonds would be set at ₹100 per share, meaning when the bond matures, the bondholder can convert their bond into Zomato shares at ₹100 per share, regardless of the current market price of the Zomato shares. I'll explain you in the last lecture, people. Debt instruments हो गया, how price are set हो गया, people. Now offer document. These are all simple, small topics we are going to cover. The company mentions either a fixed price or a price band in the offer document. In a red herring prospectus, a floor price will be mentioned. In the offer document, also called as prospectus, okay, this is called as prospectus. This is called as red herring prospectus. Oh my God, किधर गया? In the offer document, the issuer may either mention a specific price for the shares or securities or mention a price band in case of book building where the upper and the lower limits of the price are set. Whenever there are upper and lower limits, you need to assume that the price is going to be set through book building process. In case of red herring prospectus, which is used for public offerings but does not specify the price, the floor price, the minimum price may be disclosed. Example, you can read it on your own, people. It is very self-explanatory. So let's quickly complete this topic. Next is, people, issue price versus face value. Face value is that value when the company issued the shares for the first time. Okay, not based on any other criteria, simply based on the current simply based on the face value, the company has fixed the value. Okay, for example, if I am incorporating a company and I decide the price of my share should be either 10 rupees or 100 rupees, not taking into consideration anything, it is according to my own subjective thoughts. Okay, as per my own subjective calculation, I decide the face value of my shares should be either 10 rupees or 100 rupees. Now, after 5 to 10 years down the line, the company grows by 10x, 100x, 12x, 200x. Or will it be right to say that the company's share price will still be at 100 rupees when you started the company 20 years back? No, right? There's a lot of things that is into play. Okay, market demand, supply, prospectus, the company has grown 200 times. So that is called the issue price. The issue price should never ever be lower than the face value of shares. Okay. The issue price can't be lower than the face value of shares. For example, if the face value is rupees 10, the issue price cannot be less than rupees 10. Simple. So we learned three things, people. Number one is how price is set. Number two is debt instrument. Number three is offer document. Number four is issue price versus face value. All right. Perfect. Now let's understand, people, how shares in an IPO can be issued at different prices to different categories of investors. Okay, this is something that's interesting. Okay, इसमें हम भेदभाव पढ़ेंगे भेदभाव. Okay, you tell me, people, objectively you tell me, I am Zomato, I am raising money from you. you are buying my shares. Will it be right to say that Ashwini Grover will get my shares at the rate of rupees 100 and you will get the shares at the rate of rupees 200? You are charged 2 times more than Ashwini Grover. Will it be right, people? Tell me. It is absolutely wrong, people. It is a total injustice towards you. Okay, but under certain scenarios, these conditions can be followed. What I'm saying is, under certain conditions, under certain scenarios, differential pricing is possible. Okay, let's understand those conditions. Normally, differential pricing is not allowed, but there are 3 exceptions. We will see that. All right. So, people, there are 3 categories of investors. Number 1 category of investors are retail investors. Retail investors are like common people like you and me whose investment is less than 2 lakh rupees. Retail investors are like common people like you and me whose investment is less than 2 lakh rupees. The next category of investors are non-institutional investors. Non-institutional investors, also called as high net worth individuals. High net worth individuals. Perfect. Like, let's say, Nikhil Kamath, Bill Gates. Now you can complete the dots. The next category of investors are people institutional investors. They are very, very big players having lots and lots of money. They can be mutual funds, they can be insurance company, they can be foreign portfolio companies, etc., etc. So what this rule is saying that retail investors or employees can be offered shares at a price not lower than 10% of the price offered to other applicants. If the offer price to other applicants is rupees 100, retail investors or employees can't be offered shares below rupees 90. What this rule is saying that, let's assume the price of the share is rupees 100. Okay, to non-institutional investors and institutional investors, I am charging rupees 100. So if you want to give discount to retail investors or employees, you can give discount to retail investors, but how much discount? Discount should be not discount should be not lower than rupees 90. If I am allotting shares to Nikhil Kamath or an insurance company at rupees 100, I cannot give a discount to retail investors or employees less than 10 rupees. More than 10 rupees, sorry. See, what I'm saying is non-institutional investors and institutional investors, if they get shares at rupees 100 rupees, retail individual investors or employees can get a discount, but how much discount? Not less than 10% of the issue price offered to institutional investors or non-institutional investors. 100 rupees का price मैं offer कर रहा हूँ, not lower than 90 rupees. You cannot give to 85 rupees, 86 rupees, 87 rupees. 90 rupees maximum. At the you can allot shares to the retail investors or employees at the rate maximum 90 rupees. Clear? Right? Simple concept. Simple concept. Now, who are anchor investors? People, anchor investors are those investors offer period शुरू होने से पहले they subscribe to his shares. What did I say? Offer period before everybody can buy the shares. Everybody means retail individual investors, high net worth individuals can buy the shares. Anchor investors can buy the shares. The reason is anchor investors set the demand. They give a kick to the IPO demand. है ना? IPO demand को kick करते हैं so that everybody knows that this IPO is in some demand at least. Okay? वो demand को kick करने के लिए anchor investor होता है. That is why it is called as anchor. Anchor means pushing forward. है ना? So anchor investors now. अभी आप एंकर इन्वेस्टर्स को शेयर्स ऑफर कर रहे हो, राइट? नो, that's not a problem. But the problem is, at what price are you offering shares to the anchor investors? Are you offering shares to the anchor investors less than 90 rupees or more than 100 rupees? What is your criteria of giving shares to anchor investors? So what this rule is saying that in a book build issue, let's assume the pricing is through price band, lower price, lower range, upper range, book building issue. In a book build issue, the price offered to anchor investors cannot be lower than the price offered to other applicants. Okay, anchor investors को, for example, I will explain you the anchor investors. Anchor investors company is going for an IPO. Offer period over here, anchor investors can subscribe to the shares for setting the initial demand. Now the question is, at what price? The price is not lower than cannot be lower than the price offered to other applicants. See people, retail investors का तो हो ही गया. We are not going to discuss about the retail investors, but we are going to talk about anchor investors. So anchor investors mean other applicants में कौन कौन आता है remaining are non-institutional investors. Anchor investors should not be given shares less than 90 rupees. Sorry, 100 rupees people. ₹100. So anchor investors can subscribe. Anchor investors, who are they? Anchor investors can subscribe to the shares for what purpose? For setting the initial demand of shares. The price should not be lower than 100 rupees. Only that discount was for retail individual investors and employees. Remaining applicants, who are they? High net worth individuals and institutional investors. उसमें से anchor investors should not be given shares less than 100 rupees price. Now the question is, if the price band is in the range of rupees 80 to rupees 110, okay, assuming the price band rupees in between rupees 80 to 110, 80 rupees के बीच में 110 rupees में बुक बिल्डिंग प्रोसेस के थ्रू प्राइस सेट होगा फॉर whom? फॉर द पब्लिक में कौन आएगा? Retail individual investors, institutional investors, non-institutional investors. Clear hai? Now anchor investors is subscribing the shares before setting the price, right? Now, what if anchor investors gets the share at rupees 80 and after book building issue wala method, it was understood that the final price was rupees 100. Pre IPO के time we realized the share price was set to rupees 100 and pre IPO anchor investors ने rupees 80 ही दिया है. So can we demand additional 20 rupees from anchor investors? The answer is yes, we should demand additional 20 rupees from the anchor investors because that time the price was not determined. Anchor investors ने subscribe किया, but now anchor investors ने जितना subscribe किया है, retail को कितना मिल रहा है, institution को कितना मिल रहा है, after the book building issue, final price जब set होता है, we will demand additional money if the final price is more than the shares price offered to the anchor investors. Clear है? यहाँ पे people anchor investor purchased shares lower than issue price, found post book building calculation, then let's assume for 8 rupees he has purchased, let's assume for 80 rupees he has purchased, and over here post calculation of book building it was turned out that rupees 100 का share price fixed हुआ है. Then anchor investor needs to contribute additional 20 rupees per share to the issuer. Okay, that is why anchor investors should not be allotted shares lower than other applicants. Perfect. Now the question is, if ज़्यादा हो गया, then obviously anchor investors would receive the refund. Higher than issue price, then refund. Okay, refund wala point will not go into detail, people. The only thing that matters is anchor investors should not get price lower than the other applicant. Simple hai, clear hai. Everybody is with me. In case you are not understanding, people, drop your comments explaining your doubt, and I will be happy to clarify your doubt. All right. Yes. So where were we, people? In a book build issue, the price offered to anchor investors cannot be lower than the price offered to other applicants. Who are anchor investors? Anchor investors are institutional investors or high net worth individuals who invest in an IPO before it opens to the public. They are typically given the opportunity to invest at a fixed price in the IPO, which helps set the tone for the issue. Demand. Why are they important? Anchor investors are crucial because their participation signals confidence in the company, because anchor investors are also very big players, which encourages other investors to participate. They help in generating initial demand for the IPO. Now, in the end, people, I will tell you, will anchor investors come under institutional investors or non-institutional investors? Okay, you might have that doubt, bro. You said investors can be categorized into three categories: retail, non-institutional, institutional. But under what category you will categorize anchor investor under? Tell me. Okay, I will definitely tell you by the end of this concept. Oh my God. Please take the screenshot, people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Yes. इसका भी screenshot ले लिया. I hope so, people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Now, this is what differential pricing means. Book building issue, or we will not specifically say that the book building issue, it's a general pricing methodology. Okay, simple, people. Retail individual investors or employees should not get discount more than 10% compared to other applicants. Anchor investors, who are they? They purchase shares before anybody to set the demand for the shares. At what price? Not lower than the price offered to other applicants, that is non-institutional investors. Only retail can get discount. Non-institutional investors cannot get discount, hence other applicants are non-institutional investors. Now, employees in book building alternate method. Alternate method of book building means, again, setting a price based on demand supply. Simple. If the company chooses the alternative book method of book building, which is based on demand supply, all right, it can offer shares to employees at a price lower than the floor price. What did I say? Floor price. The discount should not exceed 10% of the floor price. If the floor price is ₹100, the employees can get shares at 90 rupees. Floor price kab hota hai, people? When there is no upper range of red herring prospectus mein, only lower limit is given, that is the floor price. Okay? Upper range is not given. So what he's saying is, if alternative book building process is followed, that is general pricing methodology followed by the company. During alternative book building, again 10% se zyada you cannot give discount to employees or retail individual investors. Same point. The issue price is ₹500 or more. The face value can be less than ₹10, but not lower than ₹1. Yeah. Okay. The issue price is ₹500. The face value can be less than 10, but not lower than 1. People, what am I saying? Okay. Example. The floor price is ₹100. Employees can get shares at ₹90, but not lower. Next is अरे मिट जा सिमसिम. Face value. If the issue price is ₹500 or more, the face value can be less than 10 but not be lower than ₹1. Face value can never ever be lower than ₹1. ऐसा बोल रहा है. The issue price is below ₹500. The face value must be ₹10. For a 500 rupees issue price, the face value can be rupees 1 to 5. For a 400 rupees issue price, the face value must be rupees 10. Next is people, promoters contribution. Okay, now what does promoters contribution means? We will just tick mark the topics we have discussed, people. किधर गया? Okay, we have already tick marked it. No use. All right, people, this is a very important and interesting concept. We need to learn it. Two topics are very important. Number one was eligibility criteria for a company to go into IPO. Next is promoters contribution. उसके बाद आता है people differential pricing and then how do you allocate the shares, वो सब आएगा. Okay, the most important topics are promoters contribution and eligibility for an IPO. शुरू करते हैं. Yes. Just drink some water, people. प्यास लगी है bro. सो पीपल ये रूल क्या बोल रहा है ना, मान लो आई एम द प्रोमोटर ऑफ B&G प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. B&G प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. कुल I am the promoter. I am the promoter holding 18% of the entire shareholding. Let's say the total number of shares are rupees. Total number of shares are. Let's say we will take very simple example, people. 100 shares है मान लो. कुल 100 shares, total number of shares are 100. I am holding 18 shares. Perfect. Now (2025) in June 2025, people, I want my company to go public. Okay, I decide to go for an IPO. Perfect. So what this rule is saying that, people, if the issuer is going public before the offer period means before everybody start purchasing your shares, you need to contribute 20% of the company's post-issue capital to your company. Okay, what this is saying is IPO हो रहा है, let's say of 100 shares. Okay, already I am holding 100 shares. I am launching an IPO for another 100 shares. Right now I am holding 18% of shares before IPO. Now I have decided to go for an IPO. So what he is saying is I need to hold at least 20% of the 20% of the post issue share capital. Post issue share capital means kitna hua, people? Already my company's total shares are 100. Now I am launching an IPO for another 100 shares. Total shares are from 100 to 200. Okay, 200 का 20% कितना हुआ people? 200 का 10% is 40. Okay, if 200 shares are rupees are 100%, 20% कितना हुआ? Post issue paid up share capital. This is post issue. This is pre issue. So I need to hold or purchase shares contributing to 20% of the post issue share holding. That means right now I am holding 18 shares, but before the offer period I need to ensure that I am holding at least कितना हुआ भाई? 22 30, yeah, 22 shares additional I have to purchase. I need to ensure this. This is called as promoters contribution. What it says is, people, promoters should hold at least 20% of post 20% of post issue paid up share capital. Kitna? 20% of the post issue share capital promoters should hold. Okay. Earlier I was holding 18 shares, but post issue paid up share capital is 20 shares. I need to additional 22 shares I need to purchase additionally. Okay. कब purchase करना people? Before the IPO. Before IPO, I need to ensure that I am holding 20% of post issue paid up share capital. Clear hai? Again, before IPO, I need to ensure that I am holding post issue paid up share capital of 20%. Simple rule है people, very very simple. मान लो 18 shares I am holding. 18 shares, no problem. This was pre-IPO, but now I am going for an IPO. I need to ensure that before I launch an IPO, I need to ensure that I am holding 20% of post-issue paid up share capital. Now I am launching IPO for 100 shares. Earlier it was 100 shares. Now I am launching an IPO for 100 shares. Total हो गया 200 shares. 200 shares का 20% कितना हुआ? 40 shares I need to hold. Right now I am holding 18 shares. Additional कितने shares hold करो? Additional कितने shares मुझे purchase करूंगा? तो 40 shares हो जाएगा. 22 shares I need to purchase additionally when? Before the IPO. Clear है? All right. You can take a screenshot, people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's understand the rule. When a company goes for an IPO, it must show that promoters are putting up a certain amount of money or shares as a contribution. Minimum contribution. The promoters must contribute at least 20% of capital after the public offer. Example, if a company has 100 crores of post-issue capital, then the promoters must contribute at least 20 crores. खत्म हो जा ब्रो, मिट ही नहीं रहा यार. All right, people. All right. One more rule is that, people, 20% of share that I am holding, I cannot sell even one share, reducing that 20% to 19.9 also. 20% shares I cannot sell for 3 years post IPO. Okay, timeline we will also discuss in detail. Okay, what the point is, 40 शेयर जो मैं होल्ड कर रहा हूं, I cannot sell even a single share more than earlier than 3 years. Okay, 40 शेयर में 3 साल तक नहीं बेच सकता हूं. IPO आया है Jan 2025 till Jan 2028. I need to hold those 40 shares. That's it. Simple. Once the promoters contribute, the shares are locked in, meaning they can't sell them right away. This is done to ensure that the promoters remain committed to the company. मान लो people, IPO आने के बाद promoters ही जिसने कंपनी शुरू किया है उसी ने अपना शेयर्स बेचना शुरू कर दिया. अगर बेचना शुरू कर, it means you are not interested in your company. Supposing if I am holding just 2% of the shares, remaining 98% is held by the public. मैं बस 2% शेयर होल्ड कर रहा हूं. जिसने कंपनी शुरू की है वो खुद 2% होल्ड कर रहा है. पीपल, does that sound credible? No, right? Promoters are the people who have got 100-200% trust in the company. If they are holding such less amount of share, that means the promoters does not believe in the company. The promoters does not believe in the company. They are not going to put efforts in running into the company. That is wrong. Okay, if you are going for an IPO, if you are raising money from the public, you need to ensure that you are committed to the company. Okay, this is what SEBI is ensuring. So once the promoters contribute, the shares are locked in, meaning they can't sell them right away. This is done to ensure that the promoters remain committed to the company. Minimum promoters contribution lock-in. The promoters contribution 20% is locked in for 3 years. This means they cannot sell these shares for 3 years. Now let's understand 3 years from commencement of commercial production, that is पैसा आने के बाद जब तुम बड़े स्केल में जब शुरू कर रहे हो ऑपरेशन, इधर दैट डेट और date of allotment in the public issue, the date when the public gets their shares, whichever happens later. If a company's IPO gets listed on January 1st, the promoter's contribution will be locked for 3 years starting from this date. The company starts its business on March 1st. The lock-in period will be counted from March 1st instead of IPO allotment date. Clear hai? Perfect. Now what if people, promoters are holding not 20%, they are holding 25%, 30%. तब क्या होगा? If the promoters own more than minimum 20%, the excess shares are locked in for not 3 years but 1 year. The promoters contribute 25% of post-issue capital, that is 25 crores. The first 20 crores is locked in for 3 years. Obviously, remaining 5 crores is locked in for 1 year. अब हम एग्जांपल से पढ़ेंगे. Let's assume the promoters are holding 50 shares, not 40 shares. Okay, 50 shares hold कर रहे हैं, then he should ensure that 40 shares जो है ना people, 40 shares, 10 shares, 40 shares are locked in for 3 years period and 10 shares are locked in for 1 year period. Perfect. Now this condition will not be applicable when the company is going for further public issue. When the company is going for further public offer. एक बार IPO हो गया, एक साल हो गया. Now the promoter wants to, now the company is going again for raising money from the public. Initial public offer सिर्फ एक ही बार होता है. Okay, उसके बाद जो होता है ना people, that is further public offer. The company is raising again second round of money from the public, that is called as further public offer. If the company is raising money, that means the company is selling its shares, right? Now the company is selling its shares, Will that make any sense in locking in these shares, people? है ना? 3 years मानते people you need to stay committed to the company. ये 1 year का जो लॉक-इन पीरियड है ना, ये will not be applicable when the company is going for further public offer. Because bro, you are selling the shares. ये 10 shares से क्या ही होगा ना फिर? These 10 shares will be wasted. ये 10 shares waste नहीं होना चाहिए people. Only during further public offer, these 10 shares can be sold. During further public offer. The promoter's contribution must be at least, ये हो गया. If the promoters issue more shares in a further public offer, the shares they contribute are not subject to any lock-in. Now, let's understand why these rules are in place. The lock-in ensures that the promoters stay committed to the company for a certain amount of time after the IPO. The promoters could sell their shares right away. They might not be interested in the company's long-term success, and the value of shares could drop. Market price fluctuation हो सकता है. By having a locked-in period, it forces the promoters to stay committed, invested, and support the company after it goes public, giving confidence to investors. Perfect, people. Let's draw a mind map for this. किधर गया भैया? Yes. Number one is people. Number one is promoters contribution. Okay. Contribution should be 20% of post issue capital. This does not mean promoter has to contribute another 20%. That means if he is holding 18% और 2% उसको shares खरीदना है. Simple. 20% if he is already holding, post issue paid up share capital not required. Post issue paid up share capital is the key, people. Key. Post issue के बाद तुम्हारा कितना होल्डिंग है, अगर 20% से कम है, then contribute additional shares, then purchase additional shares so that you are holding 20% of post issue capital. More than 20% post issue capital. This will be locked in. This will also be locked in for how many years? For 3 years, and this will be locked in for only 1 year. Period will commence from commencement of commercial production or date of allotment in the पब्लिक इशू, यहां पे विच एवर इज लेटर, यहां पे दिस रूल विल नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल when a company is going for an FPO, ठीक है। क्लियर है पीपल यहां तक? आर वी क्लियर? सो ये भी लिख लेते हैं ब्रो, व्हाई इज दिस, व्हाई आर these रूल्स, ओके, व्हाई आर these रूल्स पीपल, हाईलाइटेड पोर्शन है, द नोट्स आर इन डिस्क्रिप्शन, यू कैन डाउनलोड इट बाय फिलिंग द गूगल फॉर्म, ठीक है, नोट्स तो है ही, तो हाईलाइटेड पोर्शन तो इट्स जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, यू कैन रीड इट। नेक्स्ट टॉपिक क्या है ब्रो? नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज ए पीपल, one second, did you take the screenshot? 5 4 3 2 1 0. All right, we are going to learn the last topic of this chapter, raising finance from capital markets. Last topic is allocation of shares. कैसे होंगे? अभी हमने प्राइसिंग ऑफ शेयर्स पढ़े, रिटेल को 10% डिस्काउंट मिलेगा, एंकर इन्वेस्टर को डिस्काउंट नहीं मिलेगा, एंकर इन्वेस्टर्स को वही प्राइस पे शेयर्स मिलेंगे, ये सारे हमने प्राइसिंग रिलेटेड चीजें पढ़े थे। नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड allocation related things. Okay, let's understand who are the types of investors. In a book building process, the allocation of shares is in the net offer to the public is divided among different categories of investors. The key categories are retail individual investors, I've told you, less than 2 lakhs. This is 2 lakhs. Non-institutional investors who are not qualified institutional buyers or retail individual investors. These include high net worth individuals, corporations, etc. Qualified institutional buyers, large institutional investors like mutual funds, pension funds, insurance companies, foreign portfolio investors, etc., etc., etc. Scenario 1, general book building process and ideal book building process में shares का allocation कैसा होगा? All right, yes. मान लो you are issuing 100 new shares to the public, 100 new shares. उसमें से बाइफर्केशन कैसा होगा पीपल? रिटेल इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर्स को मिलेगा 35% मिनिमम, नॉन इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स को मिलेगा 15% minimum. This is an ideal scenario of book building process. Institutional investors will get minimum 50%. Okay, institutional investors, QIB and all also valid. Ideal scenario book building. Perfect. Now let's read it. 35 shares मिलेंगे retail को people, 15 shares मिलेंगे नॉन इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स को, 50 shares मिलेंगे टू इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स. Perfect. Yes. For a typical book building process, the issue is allotted to retail individual investors. These are small investors applying for shares in the issue. If a company issues 1 lakh shares, at least 35,000 shares must be allocated to retail individual investors. Clear है यहाँ तक? Perfect. At least 15% of the issue is allotted to non-institutional investors. These include individuals and organizations that don't fall under the category of retail individual investors or qualified institutional buyers. 15 shares, 15 shares. Now, at most 50% of the issue is allocated to QIB. यहाँ पे लिखा है people at most, that means maximum. यहाँ पे लिखा है maximum, यहाँ पे लिखा है minimum. This means रिटेल इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर्स को 35% से कम नहीं मिलेगा इन एन आइडियल बुक बिल्डिंग के सिनेरियो. एट द सेम टाइम क्यूआईबीज को मैक्सिमम 50% मिल सकता है. 50% के 1% भी नहीं मिलेगा ऊपर. ऑलराइट, दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पीपल. ये मैं हाईलाइट कर सकता हूं. परफेक्ट, यस. नाउ QIBs में कौन कौन आते हैं? QIBs में आते हैं पीपल म्यूचुअल फंड्स, बैंक्स, इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज एक्सेट्रा. Within this 50%, 5% should be compulsorily allocated to mutual funds. That means 5 shares should be given to mutual funds people. समझ गए आप? A company issues 1 lakh shares, at most 50,000 shares can go to QIB with at least 5,000 shares going specifically to mutual funds. Clear है यहाँ तक? Perfect. Now, this was ideal scenario of book building process. Now, what if QIB का डिमांड ज्यादा आ गया कंपेयर टू रिटेल और रिटेल का डिमांड ज्यादा आ गया कंपेयर टू क्यूआईबी. ओके, रिटेल को तुम लोग मिनिमम 35% शेयर से गिव रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स को मिनिमम यू कैन गिव 35%. नाउ व्हाट इफ 50% ऑफ डिमांड इज कमिंग फ्रॉम रिटेल इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर्स? कैन दे रिसीव मोर शेयर्स? द आंसर इज यस पीपल. एट द सेम टाइम रिटेल का कम डिमांड है एंड क्यूआईबी का ज्यादा डिमांड है. Will that can we say कि QIB को ज्यादा शेयर्स मिल सकते हैं कंपेयर टू रिटेल? द आंसर इज यस. अभी हम पढ़ेंगे कैसे. फटाफट हो जाएगा पीपल. छोटा सा टॉपिक है, लास्ट टॉपिक है. इमीडिएटली विल फिनिश इट ऑफ एंड देन विल स्टार्ट विद द नेक्स्ट अमेजिंग चैप्टर. अमेजिंग चैप्टर कौन सा है? इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग और टेकओवर कोड. ओके, यस. In some cases, particularly if the demand from QIBs is very high, the allocation might be adjusted. For instance, not more than 10% of the issue is allocated to retail individual investors. Not more than 50% of the issue is allocated to non-institutional investors. At least 75% of the issue is allocated to QIBs and 5% of that goes to mutual funds. ओके, इसको हम लोग आइडियल बुक बिल्डिंग सिनेरियो लिख दिया हमने. दिस इज कॉल्ड फॉर बुक बिल्डिंग सिनेरियो. बुक, ये हो गया बुक बिल्डिंग. ओके, नाउ दिस इज एन आइडियल सिनेरियो. परफेक्ट. आइडियल सिनेरियो मींस 100 शेयर्स मैंने रेस का. 100 शेयर्स आई एम 100 शेयर्स में नए, अरे क्या बोल रहा हूं मैं, I am offering 100 new shares to the public and 100 shares के मुझे डिमांड आए हैं. रिटेल से 35 आया है, इंस्टीट्यूशनल से 50 आया है, नॉन इंस्टीट्यूशनल से 15 आया है. परफेक्ट. नाउ व्हाट इफ QIB का डिमांड बहुत ज्यादा है कंपेयर टू रिटेल और QIB का डिमांड कम है कंपेयर टू रिटेल? तब क्या होगा? तब ऐसा होगा पीपल, रिटेल इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर्स को मैक्सिमम मिल सकता है 10%, दैट इज 10 शेयर्स. नॉन इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स को भी मैक्सिमम कितना मिल सकता है पीपल?
15%. That is 15 shares. The remaining at least 75 shares मिलेगा QIB को. Demand from QIBs or retail individual investors or non-institutional investors. Okay, तब शेयर्स का एलोकेशन ऐसा होगा. All right people, yes, now स्पेशल केसेस भी हो गया, हमने कवर कर दिया. ओए 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 एक सेकेंड, इसमें से भी पीपल 5 शेयर्स मिलेंगे इसको, म्यूचुअल फंड को. ओके, नाउ एंकर इन्वेस्टर वाला टॉपिक. उसके पहले लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड हाउ यू डिटरमाइन दिस. The adjustment is based on people demand supply dynamics observed during the book building process. Here is how you can determine the allocation. Preliminary demand allocation. Before finalizing the allocation, the need managers or underwriters assess the demand for shares in the book building process. The demand is categorized into QIBs, NIIs, RIIs based on investor applications and bids. Overwhelming demand from QIBs. If the demand from QIBs is greater than the allocated portion, that is more than 50%, the allocation to other categories like retail and non-institutional investors will be adjusted accordingly. For example, if the QIBs place bids for 80% of the issue, the share allocation to them could be increased to 75%, reducing the allocation to retail individual investors to 10% and to non-institutional investors to 15%. Clear है यहाँ तक? If there is oversubscription, demand exceeds the shares available, the allocation might be scaled down proportionately, pro rata basis. For example, if retail investors apply for more than 35% of shares, they could receive a higher percentage of shares based on the subscription level. But if they apply for less, they might get a smaller percentage. Clear? All right. Next is flexibility in pricing and allocation. The book building process provides flexibility to adjust the price range and allocation based on real-time demand data collection during the subscription period. If QIBs bid heavily at the upper end of the price band, they could secure a larger portion of the offering, which is then reflected in the final allocation. Simple है? Yes. Now comes the main part. वो anchor investor मैंने बोला ना, यहाँ पे आएगा, यहाँ पे आएगा. In the book building process, 60% of the QIB portion may be allocated to anchor investors. Anchor investors are institutional investors who are typically the first to commit to investing in the issue before it opens to the general public. I told you, anchor investors किसमें आएगा, non-institutional में आएगा या institutional में आएगा, he will come under institutional investor. If 1 lakh shares are being offered and 50,000 shares are allocated to QIBs, up to 30,000 shares can be allocated to anchor investors. So 50 shares का 60% कितना हुआ people? 50 shares into 60%. 30 shares. So 30 shares maximum can be given to anchor investor. $30 shares means 60% of, not the entire issue people, 60% of QIB वाला portion. All right. Yes, यहाँ पे भी same. 30 shares to anchor investors. People, last 5 to 10 minutes, then we are done. Okay. So sorry to extend this video's duration. I hope you are learning something very, very amazing things you are learning, people. I hope so. All right. Yes, yes, yes. So 60% of QIB portion. And this is not minimum, this is called as maximum. Okay, perfect. Let's move to the last topic of this chapter, and then people we are done. Yes. Now we spoke about book building process में कैसा shares profit होगा. अब मान लो कि book building process follow नहीं कर रहे, it's called fixed price से हम share price set करें, तब allocation कैसा होगा? Let's understand. Non book, people very simple है ये, फटाफट कर लेंगे हम लोग. Non book building process allocation, ठीक है? कैसा होगा people? 30% will go to retail individual investors. ये होगा at least means minimum. यहां पे remaining shares can be allocated आपके हिसाब से, ओके? इश्यूअर के हिसाब से institutional investors कितने remaining 70% shares can be allocated okay discretionary basis. All right, depends on the issuer, depends on the issuer or merchant banker. बट 30% तो मिलना चाहिए रिटेल इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर्स को, बाकी तुम बाकी कैटेगरीज को कैसे दे रहे हो वो तुम पे देखो. ओके, सो वी आर डन पीपल, यहां तक अपना हो गया. ऑल राइट, सो इन दिस चैप्टर वी लर्न व्हाट इज आईपीओ. आईपीओ में कौन, ओके आई विल स्टार्ट इट अगेन. इन दिस चैप्टर वी लर्न स्टार्टिंग से लेक्चर नंबर 1 टू लेक्चर नंबर 5 वी लर्न आईपीओ का मतलब क्या होता है, who are the main players in the stock exchange, intermediaries कौन होते हैं, and then who can think of an IPO, first circle. Okay, sorry, first circle was who can think of an IPO. 10 points थे उसमें people, 2 डीमैट, 2 किसके थे, 2 डिफॉल्ट के थे, 3 were very simple, 3 were very difficult. Okay, 10 points थे, who can think of an IPO, ये हो गया. एंड देन हमने क्या पढ़ा, इंटरमीडिएरीज. ओके, इंटरमीडिएरीज कौन होते हैं, बिफोर एन इन्वेस्टर एंड द इश्यूअर के बीच में. ओके, इन्वेस्टर, इश्यूअर, स्टॉक एक्सचेंज, इनके बीच में कितने प्लेयर्स होते हैं, वी लर्न इंटरमीडिएरीज. ओके, इंटरमीडिएरीज के क्या रोल होते हैं वो भी हमने देखा. एंड देन हमने क्या देखा, हु इज एलिजिबल फॉर एन आईपीओ. ओके, 4 पॉइंट्स मेन पॉइंट्स, उसमें से 1 वाज एक्सेप्शन, remaining 5 points. Okay, other conditions. Who can be eligible for an IPO. उसके बाद we studied what people, we studied pricing guidelines. इधर गया भैया. ओके, यहां पे हमने पढ़ा टाइप्स ऑफ प्राइसिंग, फिक्स्ड प्राइस, उसके बाद प्राइस बैंड पढ़ा हमने, फ्लोर प्राइस पढ़ा. देन वी स्टडीड ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट, क्या होता है, वेरी सिंपल टॉपिक. ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट हुआ, फेस वैल्यू, इश्यू प्राइस हो गया, promoters contribution we studied, and last is shares allocation. All right, now we can say we are done with chapter 1, that is raising finance from capital markets. All right, remaining 2 chapters people, that is takeover code and insider trading, to get you 10 marks. All right, that's all from my side people. If you like this video, if you found this video useful, please share it with those who may need it. And then please, if you have any doubts, drop into the comment section. I will be happy to explain it to you. All right, that's all from my side people. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.